ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यभिमः योगीव यस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। Om. So now we'll begin chapter number 3. So and this particular chapter is titled Panchakosha Viveka Prakarana. We are in the group, we are studying first Viveka Panchakam in Panchadashi. So first 5 chapters is called Viveka Panchakam. And so we have seen the chapter number 2 as a Bhuta Viveka Panchakam. And now this is a Panchakosha Viveka Prakarana. And in this chapter there are 43 verses, and Vidyaranya is making an analysis of Taittiriya Upanishad the chapter, second chapter called Brahmanandavalli. Taittiriya Upanishad has 3 chapters. First is a Shikshavalli, second is a Brahmanandavalli called Brahmavalli sometimes called Anandavalli also, and third is a Bhruguvalli. And first let us see the background of this Valli, because he is going to discuss Brahmanandavalli in this chapter. Just essence of that. So let's take a look into this Brahmanandavalli. And it begins, this Brahmanandavalli, that is second chapter, begins with a statement. Brahmavid apnoti param. So the knower of Brahman gains highest, gains limitless, gains moksha, etc. or gains Brahman. So param means Brahman. So Brahmavid Brahma apnoti. Brahmavid param apnoti means Brahmavid Brahma apnoti. So the knower of Brahman gains Brahman. That's how it is. So Brahman is infinite. So knower of Brahman other than, attains Brahman, infinite or moksha. Moksha means he becomes free. And free, so he becomes free from what? So he becomes free from the finitude, he becomes free from mortality, he gains freedom from fear, he gains freedom from anxiety, all these things you can say. In short, he becomes free from the samsara. And by this very catchy, the statement or a catchy slogan, Brahmavid apnoti param. In fact, that is the opening statement. Upanishad tempts us to know Brahman. Question is, what is Brahman? So Upanishad explains Brahman by using 5 technical features, and Vidyaranya explains these 5 features of Brahman here in this chapter. First is a Brahma Lakshana. So that is definition of Brahman. And that is, very well, that is given Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Brahmavid apnoti param tadesha bhyukta, and then Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, etc. etc. That is a Lakshanam of Brahman. So first thing discuss is 5 topics are discussed here regarding Brahman, and that is, first is Brahma Lakshanam, definition of Brahman, and that is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, because he is discussing Brahmanandavalli. for the Panchakosha Viveka, and therefore he is giving a definition of Brahman which has been given in the Brahmanandavali. Second is a Guhahitam. Brahman is this Guhahitam, means Brahman resides within the cave, and resides within the cave means it manifests in the mind basically. So Brahman resides in the mind, let's say, one's own mind. But why mind is called cave? Because it's dark. Like cave is also very dark, mind is also dark, right? Mind is also dark in as much as it has a lot of ignorance. In fact, we are born with ignorance, and therefore the second lakshana, the second feature regarding Brahman, which has been talked about here, based on Brahmanandavali, is Guhahitam, resides in Guha, means mind, Antakara. Third is that Brahman, which is none other than Atma. Tasmadva etasmad atmanaha akasha sambhuta. So here Atma means not that I, in terms of ahankara, I mean. It's not I, it's a very sakshi of the I. The Brahman is described as a Atma. So that is a third feature. Fourth feature which is discussed here is a Panchakosha Vilakshana. So Brahman is, or Brahman, that is Atma, which is distinct from 5 shifts, 5 layers. Anyonya Atma Pranamayaha, Anyonya Atma Manomayaha, Anyonya Atma Vijnanamayaha, Anyonya Atma Anandamayaha. So basically Ananda is one's nature. So anyway, Anandam Brahmano Vidvan, etc. That is also reinforced in chapter 3 also, Anandam Brahmano Vidvan, etc. But Ananda Atma. So Anyantara Atma, Anandamaya, then well, definitely. And then Anyantara Atma will not come later, because Ananda is one's nature. So Brahman is Ananda Sarupa, that is also discussed. And so all these 5 features, Brahma Lakshanam, Guhahitam, Brahman is Atma, third feature, Brahman is distinct from 5 koshas, and Brahman is Ananda. All these 5 features Vidyaranya present in this chapter with a slightly difference from the Brahmanandavali. So there in Brahmanandavali, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma comes in the beginning itself. But here, Brahma Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma discusses at the end of this chapter. And with this background, let's enter into this chapter. First verse. Guhahitam Brahma yattat Panchakosha Vivekatah Bodhum Shakyam Tatah Kosha Panchakam Pravivichyate. It's an introductory verse in which he clearly presents his intention of forming this chapter. Kosha Panchakam Pravivichyate. So we are going to enter the Kosha and going to do a distinct study. So we are going to do a Viveka, distinction, discrimination from Brahman. Means we are going to discuss whether these koshas are real or not. And why do you study? Because tataha brahma bodhum shakyam. So we will be able to know, to arrive at the nature of Brahman. Therefore we are doing this Panchakosha Viveka. And what else is the nature of Brahman? It says here Guhahitam. So it resides in the cave. So, well, it can be understood in a... Brahman can be understood only as whole. I mean, the Brahman is Jagat Karanam. Brahman is the cause of the entire creation. And it is all pervading, etc., etc. How will I know Brahman? Basically, it resides in you, in your mind itself, as a sakshi of even every thought. And therefore, Guhahitam, it has manifested herein, where you recognize Brahman, where you recognize the Jagat, there itself you recognize the cause of the Jagat. That's how it is. Where you recognize the Jagat, the effect, there you recognize the cause. Where will you recognize the cause? Where the effect is. Where will you recognize gold? Wherever the ornament is. So you recognize Brahman, you recognize the whole Jagat where? In the mind. Well, pen is, ball, and then the computer is, this is, that is, everything you recognize here. there itself you recognize the cause of the entire universe. So that's how. So Guha Hitam, Brahman is available in the mind. It is manifested in the mind, etc. And so so Guha Hitam, then Panchakosha Vivekata, by inquiring into Panchakosha, etc., ultimately will arrive at the nature of Brahman. And so now he will enter from verse number 2nd to verse number 10. Now that is Panchakosha Viveka. He enters into that. Dehadabhyantara pranaha, pranadabhyantaram manaha, tatah karta tato bhokta, guha sriyam parampara. So in the previous shloka, Brahman was defined as residing in cave. Now Vidyaranya wants to define what is the cave. Well, dictionary meaning of the cave, which is that is outside, right? That elephant cave and that cave and this cave, etc., etc. So that is which is outside, of course, and which is very dark, etc., etc. But here the guha, that is cave, has a philosophical significance, and it is explained here. Now here we should remember in Taittiriya Upanishad, where Bhashyakara has written a commentary, Bhashyakara has explained the word guha, of course cave, but as a mind or intellect is considered, he considered mind or intellect as a guha, where within mind where Atma resides as the very Saksha, every thought. And but Vidyaranya slightly differs here in giving the meaning of the word guha. He says entire Panchakosha is a guha. It's a big guha. Guha. Big cave. So having 5 layers of that, I mean this guha has 5 layers. Like just as in a big temple, you know, there are several, they call prakaras, layers, one within the other. And so here also we have a Pancha Prakara, 5 layers, and within Pancha Prakara there is a Garbhagruha. You know, in temple that is how it is. The first is that outer layer, the compound wall of that of the temple, and then you come to the temple. There again you will enter, and then you know there are mandapam and other things, and lastly all these layers you cross, and lastly there is a Garbhagruha in which Paramatma is sitting. So same way within this Pancha Prakara there is Garbhagruha, within that there is Paramatma. Same way here 5 layers are there. This is the most outer layer of the temple. Deho Devalaya Proktaha, Jivo Deva Sanatanaha, etc. etc. Dehaha Devalaya, same thing. So this Devalaya, this temple also has a outer layer, most outer layer, that's a compound wall of the temple. And then you enter into the layer Pranamaya, and then Manomaya and Vijnanamaya, all prakaras, one layer after the other, one within the other, etc. etc. And lastly, in Garbhagruha, in mind, Garbhagruha is very dark, very dark. So that's how they have to light up a lamp there. You will find lots of lamps in Garbhagruha when Lord is sitting. Same way, it's a beautiful, what is here right now, same thing is there in the temple. Anyway, so within this Panchaprakaras there is a Garbhagruha, and within that there is a Atma. So according to Vidyaranya, these Panchakoshas are Guha, and Paramatma resides in that Guha in the mind. So he says, Dehad Abhyantara Pranaha, Deha, Annamaya. So which is external prakara, temple wall, I said you. So they had Abhyantara. So within that also there is a Pranaha, means Pranamaya, kosha. Abhyantara means inside, within. That's the second prakara. First outer prakara is this, Annamaya. Within that there is a prakara, there is a layer, prakara. So what is that? That is, they call prakara. In a temple there are layers, right? And so same way here also we call kosha actually. So within that pranamaya, that's the second kosha. Pranad bhyantaram manaha. Pranat. So compared to pranamaya kosha, and then well there is a manomaya kosha. This is manomaya kosha is within the pranamaya. Tatah karta And then there is a karta, means Vijnanamaya. So Vijnanamaya is called, Vijnanamaya Kosha is called karta in the Taittiriya Upanishad in Brahmanand Valli. Vijnanam yajnam tanute, karmani tanute picha. This Vijnanam, this Vijnanamaya Kosha, well, does all the karmas. Yajnam tanute. Well, yajnam means all these yajna karmas. All religious activities. It does. And karmani tanute picha, it also does other karmas, means laukika karmas. So, laukikam and religious, both types of karmas, Vedic karma and non-Vedic karma. So, that's how. Anyway, so Vijnanamaya is called karta in Brahmanand Valli. And therefore, Vidyaranya uses the word, he doesn't use word Vijnanamaya. So, Annamaya, within that there is Pranamaya, within that there is a Manomaya, and within that there is a Karta, means Vijnanamaya. Tatah Bhokta, definitely, after karma you get karma phala, and so you have to experience it. So, within that also there is a Bhokta, that is Anandamaya. So, this 5 layers series, Sa Iyam Parampara. So, Sa means that Guha. That Guha, Iyam, Guha, Sa, Parampara. Basically, this is called Guha in Taittiriya Upanishad because Parampara, because there is a succession of one within the another. 5 layers are there. So, and then all the 5 layers you cross, and then there is a Garbhagruha. So, you can imagine now why that Garbhagruha is called basically, Garbhagruha is called another Guha because it is very dark, very, very dark, because of these 5 layers are there. And it is dark. In temple it is dark. Where the Lord is sitting, that Garbhagruha is very dark. That's how they have to light up the lamp, because you cannot do darshanam otherwise. So, we have to enter the cave. Then we require a torchlight. Yeah, torchlight is not with you. Torchlight is with the one who knows how to enter, and he knows the whole marga also, path, where to go inside, ultimately to see Atma. So then torch is with what? You can imagine. So torch is with the teacher. He is leading the torch. He is leading and he is having it a torch. And he is telling the students that you come this way. Anyway, so torchlight is Shastra Pramana. Basically teacher means Shastra Pramana. And Acharya, of course, is holding a torch light and ultimately to discover Brahman within the Guha. So anyway, verse 2 to 10 is this Panchakosha Viveka to arrive at the Atma, which is distinct from Panchakoshas. Let's go to verse number 3. Pitrubhukta annajata vinyat jato ninnaiva vardhate dehasso namayo natma prakchordhvam tadabhavatah. So first he takes the most outer prakara layer, that is Annamaya Kosha. So remember, in the beginning of the Vedantic study, we never called this Annamaya as a Kosha. To call this body as outer cover or a Kosha or a dress like thing, I should know myself as distinct from the body. Then only I can say this is Kosha, that is Anatma. But for beginner, body is Atma. That is how Taittiriya Upanishad describes. Savayam purushonna rasamaya. Savayam purushaha anna rasamaya. Purusha, this Atma is anna rasamaya. So anna rasamaya means this Annamaya Kosha. Anna rasamaya has been told because definitely Annam directly, it is going to come anyway. So it is basically, all that nutrient which you have derived, the very essence of the food which your stomach, etc., or the intestine has extracted what you have eaten from what you have eaten. From that only all these things are made. All the saptadhatus or whatever you say, they are made up of that. So it is, you cannot call Annamaya. It is Anna Rasamaya. So the very essence of the food. Anyway. But basically it says Sava Ayam Purusha. This Ayam Purusha, this Atma is Anna Rasamaya. This is just this physical body. So it is Annamaya Atma, that is the Atma, and Annamaya is called Atma. But when you discover that there is within that there is a Pranamaya, that is Atma, oh, then automatically this body which is outer becomes Anatma. So that has been described like, there it is been described like that, right? Anyontara Atma Pranamaya. Anyaha Antaraha Atma. Pranamaya. Pranamaya is Atma, that is distinct from physical body. And that is Anyataraha, Anyaha Antaraha, which is within the physical body. Antaraha within, Anyaha distinct, and Atma, that is Atma. So Pranamaya is Atma. Oh, so automatically now physical body has become Anatma. Could you follow? So unless you reach to Pranamaya, you cannot call this physical body as a Anatma. Nobody calls. Why should I say like that? That you should not call. Everybody calls this physical, even after knowing all the 5 layers and really knowing what Atma is, still we say the physical body as Atma. Anyway, but so unless you start inquiry into the kosha, Annamaya is not a kosha at all. So if you get another kosha which has been told in the Upanishad as a Atma, so then when we can say, oh, if we reach, if you, which is, the Pranamaya which is distinct, and also within, that is within, and that is Atma also. That has been told like that. So Pranamaya is also Atma, and then Annamaya becomes kosha. Then, well, Anyontara Atma Manomaya. Okay. Now Pranamaya also has become Anatma, because when you reach little inside, then you find, oh, Anya, distinct from this Pranamaya, Antaraha which is within, and that is Manomaya is basically Atma. And then Anyantaratma, Vijnanamaya, Anyantaratma, Anandamaya, etc. So, Saha Dehaha, Annamaya. So, so this Atma in the beginning, Saha Dehaha, Annamaya. This Atma is Deha, that is Annamaya, and it becomes Kosha later. And Annamaya, Annamaya, Maya means Karyam basically. Maya means Karya. Vikara means a Karya. Vikararthe Mayat. There are several ways Mayat Pratyaya can be used. Vikararthe Mayat, Swaruparthe Mayat also. Chinmaya. So there you cannot say, well, Chinmaya means, well, it's a product of a consciousness. There is no product of consciousness. So Chinmaya means Chit Swarupa. So Mayat is also used in the sense of a Swarupa. Mayat is also used in the sense of a Vikara. Mayat is also used in the sense of a Prachuriam, predominance. Ayam Gramaha Brahmanamayaha. So this village has a predominant Brahmins, in terms of population. So etc. So this is how Mayat can be utilized in any, out of these 3 senses can be used. But here Annamaya means it is really a product of Annam. So Annam automatically becomes Karanam. Okay, if you say Annam is a Karanam, then what kind of a Karanam? What kind of a Karanam? There are 2 types of Karanam, you know. One is a, well, Nimitta Karanam, other is a Upadana Karanam. So then Annam can be either a Nimitta Karanam for the body, or it can be a Upadana Karanam for the body. But you know very well that Annam is a Upadana Karanam. How? So you are directly without saying. Well, so the definition of a Nimitta Karanam is Srushti Matra Karanam Nimitta Karanam. Srushti Matra Karanam, which is responsible for bringing out the creation. That is Nimitta Karanam. That's carpenter. Like, right? The table is created. So carpenter is also cause. But Srushti Matra is a cause for bringing out the creation, called table. What is Upadana Karanam? Srushti Sthiti Layam Karanam Upadana Karanam, which is Srushti Sthiti Laya Karanam. So which is responsible for creation, creating, responsible for its sustaining, and responsible for resolving also, for withdrawing. That is Upadana Karanam. So this is how it is. So wood is responsible, wood is also cause, like carpenter, for creating a table. But right now table is sustained, table is, right, you are able to say, because wood is, right, Without wood, how will you say the table is? So definitely the very easiness belongs to the wood. That is called sthiti. So then wood is a sthiti karanam also. Because of wood there is the table is existing. And well, wood is also a cause for withdrawal. It withdraws whole table into itself. And therefore upadana karanam is basically srishti sthiti laya karanam. Srishti matra karanam, that is our nimitta karanam. So this is how it is. So here annam is a upadana karanam, because annatvai praja prajayante, right? And so anna rasenaiva, I am sorry, what is that? Yatova imani bhutani jayanti yati ena jatani jivanti yat prayanti abhisambishanti. Right? That definition you can apply to annam, right? So yatova annadvai bhutani, annadvai imani bhutani jayanti yena jatani jivanti annam prayanti abhisambishanti. Therefore annam is Brahman. That's how it has been defined there in Bhruguvalli. Anyway, what I am saying is annam is responsible for bringing out the body. Because of annam it is sustained, sthiti karanam also, and well, it resolves ultimately, the body goes back to the annam, that is Prithvi. So annam is a karanam for annamaya kosha, that is body, but this is upadana karanam. And also there are certain differences between nimitta karanam and upadana karanam. Generally I have not found, but this is we can say. And well, annam is a upadana karanam, which is jadam. Nimitta karanam is generally chetana. So that is also a difference is there. Anyway. So this is that annam is upadana karanam. Now next problem is how do you say body is born of annam? Because we don't see physical body comes out of the annam. Like in a plate, all this rice and dal and everything is there, and suddenly body comes out of it. You never see that way. So how do you say just like, unlike, not just like, unlike the clay is there, and then from clay, well, the pot comes out. Of course, you require pot maker, that is another thing. But you can see that from the clay, well, pot can come out. But you don't find that the annam which is there right now in the plate, from there body comes out. You have not seen like that way. So that's a question. So well, we say annam is not a direct cause of the creating the body, but indirect cause of the creation. Parampara. So parampara means like in a sequence. It becomes a srishti karanam. It becomes a cause for the body. Annam, what is a sequence? Annam enters the body of parents and gets converted into seed, that is shukram and shonitam. And then they produce, when they get mixed, well, they produce body. So annam, well, becomes a cause of the body via parampara. Parampara means in sequence. So through annam, well, the seed is produced and the egg is produced in the bodies of male and female parents, and ultimately they combine and give rise to body. So annam is srishti karanam, and that has been discussed, that has been told here in verse number 3. Pitru bhukta anna jatat viryam. So we should include here, of course, egg of the mother also. We talks about pitru. We should say matru bhukta anna jatat andam. We can say that way. So we should include, viryam is annajam. So it is born of annam, and viryam definitely becomes shariram. Okay, but annam, I understood. Annam will not produce the body. Annam through the seed, it produces the body. But I see the annam in the outside in the plate, but it doesn't turn to the seed or the viryam. We never see that way. So then definitely we have to say Pitru bhukta anna jatat. So very beautifully. The samasa in it defines everything. Pitru bhukta. When this particular annam has been eaten by the father, then Pitru bhuktat annam jatam viryam. So anna jatat, that's a Panchami Vibhakti, you can understand, Ramat. Pitru bhukta anna jatat. Word is Pitrubhukta Anna Jam. Anna Jatam, let us say. Pitrubhukta Anna Jatam. So, the food which has been taken by this father turns to Viryam, and then that Viryam combines with the egg, etc. So, and that way you can take it from other side also, from Matrubhukta Anna Jatam, that is Andam, that is an egg. And then they combine and give rise to a body. So, even test tube baby, etc. also, earlier I thought this test tube baby means this, the seed and egg combines together in the test tube outside, like because chemistry samskara, so basically. But I thought it is they will produce a body outside this, andam and this seed, Shukra Shonitam, outside. But no, it's not. They mix together in the test tube outside and then ultimately should be inserted into a mother's body. Anyway, and there definitely the body, then the body is born as a child, etc. But in 9 months. But there also she takes food, and through the food, ultimately gets nourishment to the embryo, etc., the child in the womb, and that is how it grows. So that is a indirect growth, right? The child grows then from a small few bunch of cells, initially, and then grows all that and it turns to a full-fledged body. So that also requires annam, definitely, but that is not taken by the child. It is the child is going to take birth. So so mother takes the food and then the nourishment goes to the body of the child, etc. So there it is an indirect growth of a body, but once it takes a birth, it takes it's a direct growth. So that is how annena eva vardhate. Annena eva vardhate. Directly. There you have to understand that way. Annena eva vardhate. Directly it grows. And that's how it grows so much. Sometimes more than required it grows. Overweight. Anyway, so this is how it is. Dehaha saha annamayaha na atma. This deha, is not real. Atma is basically annamaya kosha vilakshana. Let's start this way. Annamaya kosha vilakshana. It is distinct from this annamaya, this physical body. Why do you say like that I am not the body? Because he gives an example, he gives a reason. Prak urdhvam tad abhavatah. Prak means before. Definitely utpattehe purvam. Before the body body is born. And urdhvam, maranat anantaram. Basically after the death, the body is not available. Body is not available before it takes a birth, even as an embryo. Not that after 9 months it comes out. Swamiji, before 9 months, once it comes out, before that also it was there in the womb. I am saying before that, when the Shukra Shonitam has not mixed, it was not there. So earlier it was not there. So prak means utpattehe purvam. Before it's, it is taking it is born in terms of even embryo, body was not there. And maranat anantaram, after the death also it is not there. So it says here tad abhavatah means sharirasya abhavatah, annamayasya abhavatah. So basically abhavatah means abhavat. It's a tasil pratyaya. You should know this. Several this tasil pratyaya is all used in the sense of various cases, third case and fifth case and etc. Even in some time in a second case also. So tasil, this taha is there, right? Abhavataha means abhavat. The taha is tasil pratyaya, and there is a suffix. It gives us, here it is giving a sense of a panchami, fifth case, because it's a hetu. So it says this annamaya kosha cannot be atma, because before it was born it was not there, and after the death it won't be there, and therefore it is not atma. Body was not there before and body will not be there after death. Before the death and birth, body was not there, and therefore that is not atma. Now this has to be understood. So, but this is a I mean a hetu. This is a, I mean, he is giving a reason that, well, why we can't, how can we say that this Annamaya is not Atma? Because it took a birth and it died also, and before that it was not there, and therefore it is not Atma. Now it will explain further. Fourth, Purvajanmanya sannetat janma sampadayet katham bhavi janmanya sankarma na bhunjiteha sanchitam. In the second line, na bhunjiteha. Now if you find another anuswara on this G, please remove it. It should be only on bhu. That anuswara should be only on bhu. And bhavi janmanya sankarma. If you have a takara, you change to nakara. Sat, it should not be sat. It should be san. Bhavi janmanya sankarma. Now in previous verse, well, he gave an argument that I am not this body. Now that argument is further explained. Because body is not there, it is limited in time. Before birth it was not there, and after death it won't be there, and therefore it is not Atma. So that argument he is explaining. A person raises a question here that why do you say that I am permanent, body is impermanent, therefore I am not the body? How do you say? Instead, why don't you say like that? That I am impermanent, body is impermanent, and therefore I am body. Right? I am impermanent, body is also impermanent, therefore I am the body. You are saying that I am permanent. I means Atma is permanent, body is impermanent, and therefore I am not the body. Instead you take like this. I am also impermanent, body is impermanent, therefore I am body. The body is equal to Atma. What is wrong in that? Answer. See, there will be, if you say like that body is Atma, there will be two problems. First, if you take the body as Atma, you can't explain the cause of the birth for this body. What is the cause of the birth of the body? Because body, that is for sure that body is born because of her past karma, right? Because we find I have got this body, the tree is another body, and then mosquito is another body, and there are all these jivas are there. So you say the body itself is Atma, body itself is a jiva, then why there is a difference in all types of bodies? And just differences are there, that's also okay. Once the bodies are there, they experience varieties of they have a varieties of the experiences. And good, bad, favorable, unfavorable, all types of experiences we have. So we should account for all this. If you say, well, it is all like that without any cause, it won't give an answer. So there must be a cause. Why one undergoes a certain kind of experience, good or bad. And therefore, body is born because of past karma. If you say body is Atma, then body has taken birth. Means Atma also has taken birth. Then how the body is born? You cannot say now. If you say body is Atma, you cannot say, well, body is born of past karma. So, in the past, body was not there. Body did not exist in the past, and therefore, how it is born? Oh, then you will have only two things. You will say body is born of karma, of course. But then since you were not there, you means the body was not there. So somebody else's karma, because of that this body you have got. Well, it's terrible. So karta bhokta will be different, right? Who has given the karmas, the body is born from the karma, those karmas not belong to you because you are the Atma and you are also born. You means the body. You said body is Atma, so body is born means you are also born. Therefore you were not there before. Then from whose karma this body is born? You say somebody else's karma. Then do you think this is a proper argument? It's a terrible thing. Somebody does something wrong and I am born and I am undergoing now all suffering. So you cannot say that. No, 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 that is not correct. Yeah, that's somebody else's karma. Well, no, that I am born because of somebody else's karma. No, 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 that is not correct. Okay, then what? Well, you have to go by chance, right? You have to go, I mean, you have to take a help of a chance. That body has come by chance, let's say that way. Body has come by accident. So, like Big Bang, you know, Big Bang means accident. That's how. So, well, they say huge super particles and very extreme temperatures, and then they slowly cool down. Why should it cool down? That itself is I don't understand. Why should it cool down? Anyway, it cooled down, and then the particles slowly condensed. Then they condensed and got together. They combined together, and by accident, everything accident, by chance. And then by accident, unicellular organs are born. By accident, then and water, somehow water was there. By accident, water came, and by accident, the jiva, I mean, these varieties of the bodies are born. Aquatic creatures are born, and from there amphibians came, and from there and then they started flying. Certain amphibians are flying also. So birds came, and then slowly, then monkeys, etc. Slowly, everything very slow, and then slowly human being came. Everything by chance. Okay, so this is how physical body has come by, just by accident. Take it that. Even some religious people also say that. So they take this Dashavatara and they say, see, our Dashavatara explains the theory of creation. That is like a Big Bang theory. By chance everything has come. See, Dashavatara, you know, it's a Matsya Avatara is there, aquatic creature. So, and then from there the Kurma Avatara, right? That is a, well, definitely amphibian. And then Manusha Avatara is there, Rama Avatara, Krishna Avatara. And there are also some other Nrsimha Avatara, etc. are also there. So some animal, and then animal, human being, and then human being. So our religion is very scientific, because see, look at the Dashavatara explains the theory of creation and matches with the science. So our certain religious people are also champions. They also talk like this. Anyway, so everything by chance. So you think I am suffering right now, and you are able to tell me everything, and I am able to tolerate you. Is due to what? Is by chance, or it is my prarabdha? If everything is by chance, then the whole creation is an accident. You don't find anything in creation. Anything in this creation is by chance. We go to other extreme. We say nothing is by chance. Nothing. Even you are laughing right now is not by chance. Since your mood is there, is also not by chance. There is a cause for it. Everything has a cause. Whole creation is an orderly creation. Everything is order. Order means that is law, niyati. That's all. Everything is a law. That's what your science is discovering. Your science is not discovering the chance. Your science is discovering a law. Anyway, so if everything is a chance, you have not to study also. Why to study and why to do good karmas and everything? Because there is nothing. Nothing is going to be produced as a karma phala. Everything is chance. Anyway, so this body must be born of some cause. And this cause must exist before the body, right? Karanam should be before the karyam. Well, clay itself is not there, and you say, I have created a pot. How? Clay should be existent before pot. And therefore, body is born, that's for sure. And therefore, the cause of the body, it should have a cause also. And then cause should exist before the body comes into being, right? And therefore, well, definitely, definitely it can't be Atma. Body cannot be Atma, because body should have a cause. And that cause must be not a body, right? This cause cannot be body, because it was non-existent before. and therefore definitely there must be a cause which was not a body, and so body cannot be called Atma. Then some karta who is there, who is the cause of that. So thus, without purva karanam, if you cannot, if you talk about arrival of the body, it is called akruta abhyagama dosha. So that's what I was telling you, right? So so two problems will occur. This is the first problem. If you say body is Atma, there will be two problems, I told. So first problem is this: akruta abhyagama dosha. Akruta. Krutam means you have not done. Akruta. So not, I mean krutam means done. Akrutam means not done. And abhyagama, I mean something which you have not done has arrived. Abhyagama. So basically it's a logical fallacy. So right now we are suffering, right? And then you said, well, there was no cause of this body. There was no cause of suffering before. Well, then why should I suffer? Why should a person is born with one leg? Why should a person is born with both the kidneys failed? Person is born without eyes. Person is born without heart. Some very typical things are happening. And person is born and immediately put into all this incubator and what not. Even you can't touch the body. So fragile. And just weight 1 kg and 1.5 kg, and sometimes it does not survive, sometimes survive then with lifelong all problems. So many things. And you say, well, the body is Atma and therefore, it is by chance body is born. It cannot be. How will you explain all these sufferings? There must be a cause for that. And that cause cannot be the body, because this body is born. Before that, the cause must be what? Which should not be the body, right? Body was not there. The cause must exist before, and that should not be the body. Again, that problem will arise. That if that is another body. If other body produces this body, then how can that body has come? Anyway, so akruta abhyagama dosha. So the body which has not done the karma, because it is right now produced, body which has not done the karma, which was not existent before, well, and it has not done some papa karma, etc., and right now it is suffering. So without previous cause, well, this body comes and suffers, and for that this body has not done any karma because it was not there. Then how it is possible? How will you explain that? How will you explain suffering for which it is not responsible? How will you explain it? That's how people feel. People feel always like that. They have this question: why should I suffer because I have not done anything wrong? That's called akruta abhyagama dosha. Actually, there is a cause, but you don't know that, so you want to blame others. People blame others all the time. That, well, this person is like that and that person is, because of that I am suffering. But actually our own karmas. But being adrishta, you don't know. And you know this life only. I have passed through several lives before and done something wrong, and right and wrong both. And I am right now suffering for my wrong deeds of the past. Well, you since you don't know, you blame what is in the front. You think that this person or that, any situation or any object, let's say. So even you can blame a knife also, right? While cutting vegetables, you cut your finger. So then you blame the even knife also. Anyway, it can take your blame because that is inert. But another conscious being will not take the blame. If you say that you are responsible, well, okay, then he said, let's get a divorce. But we don't want to stay together. Anyway, this is dosha, akruta abhyagama dosha. This is very popular in our Shastra. So akrutam, which has not been done because the body was not existent, and now without doing anything is abhyagama. It has all these papa karmas have manifested and it is suffering. No. So that dosha will be there if you take body as Atma. If you don't take Atma which is distinct from that, distinct from the body, and which has survived the body, death of the body, and that has done some karmas, and that karmas now for that experiencing those results, he has entered into this body and getting suffering, suffering or good things, etc., whatever. So you have to accept a Atma distinct from the body, otherwise you cannot explain this. And if you say body is Atma, this is the dosha. Second dosha, this is the first. If body is Atma, now it performs varieties of the karmas, right? Especially human body, and acquires a countless agami karmas. So it goes on exhausting punya papa phalam, but there will be a lot of karmas which are not at all exhausted. You cannot exhaust all the karmas. And body we have seen, it dies. If body is Atma, body dies means Atma also dies, then who will suffer? Who will suffer? People do a lot of karmas at the age of 90, 95 and 93. People do. And good and bad, both kinds of karmas people do. And therefore, we keep on doing karmas, and many karmas are there which are not exhausted, good and bad. We have not the karma phala for that. And body dies without exhausting those karmas. So there will be unexhausted karmas hanging. And who will bore the brunt? who will experience those karma phala? Who will experience? In your theory, it cannot be, because body is Atma. Body dies means Atma dies. And therefore, definitely, who will now exhaust those karmas? So you can't give that to another Karta Atma which is distinct from the body and which will experience in the future, because in your philosophy, the body and Atma is one. There is no Atma which is Karta, which is distinct from the body. It is not there in your philosophy. Body is Atma for you. And therefore, Karta body, the doer body, which has done good and bad karmas even at the fag end of the life, and it goes without exhausting karma phala. Some people are, you have seen, you might have also seen, and I have also seen, people are busy even at till the last moment, doing some service, very good work, social service, some very karmas which are really beneficial to the society at the end, up to the end. Now they have not gained the good karma phala also. Without experiencing good karma phalas, they have gone. And in your philosophy, body is Atma. Well, then definitely body goes, Atma also goes. The experience has not remained at all. Then who will experience those karma phala? Who will experience? You have to accept that some Atma, which is distinct from the Atma, must be distinct from the body, which survives the death of the body, will definitely take the new birth. He will get a new body, and through that he experiences, etc. You have to accept it. So, and this particular dosha is called Kruta Vipranasha dosha. Means you have done, there will be many karmas, without experiencing them, good and bad, person goes away. Person goes away means body goes away, but body is Atma. In that philosophy, then there will not be any experience left behind to enjoy or to experience good or bad karma phalas, and therefore all these karmas will be waste. So plus don't say that body is Atma. There is a Karta which survives the death of the body, and that beginningless time, this basically we call that Jiva. That Jiva survives the death of the body, which undergoes and the varieties of the experiences by gaining varieties of the bodies. So this body I have got because I, the Jiva, who survived the death of the last body or the previous body, and whatever the karmas I have done, now I am undergoing an experience of those karma phalas through this new body, and therefore I am the Jiva who survives the death of previous body or that other body, with this body. Definitely it is distinct. It has to survive the death of the body. If it survives the death of the body, means with the death, body dies, but that Jiva does not die, and therefore body is not Atma. So Jiva has to survive, And all this from beginningless time, well, Jiva was there, and well, up to endless time Jiva will remain. And then alone this Sanchita exhaustion takes place. On even Agami, new earning also will be there, Agami collection will be there. So it is all centered on one and the same Jiva, either Agami karmas or Sanchita karma, all are centered in one Jiva. Various exhaustion of the Sanchita also takes place through gaining the body, as well as if it is a human body, he acquires a new karmas also, we call Agami karmas. And so Agami collection also is possible, exhaustion from Sanchita is possible, centered on a Jiva. Same, centered on one and the same Jiva. Then every Jiva has his own karmas basically. So in Bhagavad Gita it has been told, Avyaktat Vyaktaya Sarvaha Prabhavanti Aharagame Ratragame Praliyante Tatraiva Vyakta Sanyake. Well, so Bhutagramasya Evayam Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate, etc. etc. So same set of Jivas, well, should appear and Vyaktam and disappear. No new Jivas can be created. Whatever Jivas are there. So many, how many are there? Infinite are there. We don't know, because we don't know what is in the Maya, what is in the stomach of Ishvara, we don't know. What is there in the unmanifest, we don't know. And therefore, but whatever Jivas are there. No new Jivas can be created. Why? Because to create a new Jiva, basically, you require karma, right? And therefore, because once then Jiva is created, then he should be given body. And then he should undergo Sukha Dukha experience. Means he should have some earning. And there, well, so therefore, to create a new Jiva, you require karma. And who will provide karma? Who will provide karma? Like, okay, initially you don't have money. Like, the father. You don't have money. Yeah? Okay, take this. You are going to college? Take this money. Take this money. Well, father can give. But this Jiva, once it is created, Bhagavan only is a father. He has to give karma and earning for pocket expense. Yeah. And then he may earn in future, and then, well, he will have his own earning, and then that's a different thing. Same way, Bhagavan has to give karma. But Bhagavan is a pauper. He doesn't have any karma. If Bhagavan has a karma, then he is a Jiva. Bhagavan is akarta. So in his account there is nothing. In his account there is nothing, because he has not done karma. Why he has not done karma? He is doing so much, but he is akarta. Tasya kartaram apimam viddhi akartaram. In 4th chapter, Bhagavan said very beautifully, Tasya kartaram. Tasya means srustehe. Jagatasya. Jagataha karta. I am the creator of the universe, but I am really speaking, I am not the creator. From my own standpoint, I am a karta. And therefore, he doesn't have, he is a pauper. So he doesn't have anything. How will he give to Jiva? Then if Jiva, well, if they are created and not, he doesn't have any karma, then what? How will the journey begin? So no new Jivas are created. Oh, but world can give karma. Hey, world can, how world can give karma? How this has a punya papa? How this has punya papa? Any jada, anything which is inert cannot have any punya papa. So no new Jivas are possible. World cannot give karma. Bhagavan cannot give karma to a new Jiva. And therefore, well, definitely no new Jiva is possible. Same set of Jivas appear in form of octopus and human and fish and whatnot. And same set of Jiva continues. Otherwise, creation is impossible. Anyway, so Purva Janmani Asan Shariram, body which has a body which was non-existent previously, Etat Janma Katham Sampadayet. How can that body which was non-existent, well, before, how it acquired karma? Because it was non-existent. Etat Janma Katham Sampadayet. How can it produce karma required for this, for the present Janma? Because it was not there. And its experiences, right? Karma means basically Janma and its experiences, both. So not possible. And Bhavi Janmani Asan, body which will be non-existent next Janma, body will not be there. Then it cannot exhaust karma acquired in this Janma. Iha Sanchit Karma. Iha means remaining in this body, whatever you acquired karma. Here Sanchita does not means our technical Sanchita. Sanchita means we think of a past, but here we are talking about the present Janma. So Sanchita means just acquired. So I mean, so it basically bhavi janmani asan iha sanchit karma na bhunjita. So this body will not be existent after a few years. Then whatever good karmas I have done, good, bad, whatever, those karmas cannot be exhausted because the body won't be there. Body means Atma won't be there because body is equal to Atma. So iha sanchit karma na bhunjita. Whatever I have acquired right now, na bhunjita, I cannot experience also. So future non-existent body cannot pay price of this acquired karma in this Janma. So somebody is required basically to continue. Somebody was there in the previous Janma when the body was also not there and did some karmas, and because of that I have got this Janma, and therefore there is a cause of this body also, and well, in future this body will not remain, but whatever I have acquired in this Janma, those karmas still I will be able to experience. Then I should survive even after the death of the body, and therefore body is not Atma. If I survive the death of the body, means I don't die with the death of the body. I am not the body. And so somebody is required to continue in next Janma to experience the karma of this Janma also. Therefore, Deha Vyatirikta, Karta Bhokta, Atma is required. That's okay. So this is Jiva is required, which is Karta Bhokta is there. Then from Jiva we can, then it is easy. For Vedanti, from Jiva to Brahman, that jump is simple jump. That jump is possible just sitting in the chair and drinking a cup of coffee. That is just very simple. Yeah, just you have to drop that I am not Jiva. That's all. Once you say that you are distinct from this physical body, you are Karta Bhokta. Okay, accept. And then slowly, with the sipping the cup of, with the sipping, not cup, with the sipping of a coffee, well, think here and drop the Jivatva. That's all. Nothing to be done. If anything you feel that you have to do in order to gain moksha, in order to gain Brahman, well, you have to start with Tattvabodha. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.